Okay, we've all been there, right? You wake up, you set this firm boundary for yourself. You're like, today is going to be different. And then, bam, out of nowhere, you're slipping right back into that exact same habit. It's so incredibly frustrating. So, in this explainer, we're diving straight into something every single one of us deals with temptation. But we're not just going to look at it as some sneaky external force that just trips us up when we aren't looking. No, we're going to reframe the whole shebang. We're going to explore how to identify our own inner vulnerabilities and figure out how to shift from being passive targets to, well, active defenders. Let's get into it. Listen to this really profound thought from James 1:14. It says, "Each one is tried by being drawn out and enticed by his own desire." Wow, that completely flips the script, doesn't it? It's basically telling us that temptation isn't just this trap waiting out there for us to blindly step into. It's actually drawn out by our own internal desires. It's an inside job. I mean, it's just human nature to want to blame our circumstances, right? We blame a stressful day at work or the traffic, or we're just like, the internet made me do it. But this idea, it demands that we look in the mirror. The external stuff is really just a catalyst. The actual vulnerability is the internal appetite responding to it. Grasping that dynamic is absolutely crucial. It's step one to taking back control. So I've got a pretty direct question for you. Do you actually know which areas you're most easily tempted in? Like, is it that overwhelming urge to jump into office gossip when a really juicy rumor drops? Or maybe it's a super quick temper when you're just exhausted at the end of the day? Or, how about mindlessly doom scrolling on your phone at 1 a.m. when you know you need sleep? I'll let that sit with you for a sec. It sounds like a simple question, but man, it requires a deeply uncomfortable level of self-awareness to answer honestly. We've all got triggers, but to build a strong defense, we first have to know exactly what we're defending against. Which brings us to Section 1, the illusion of invincibility, and why overconfidence is a major liability. You see, our natural instinct when faced with our own vulnerabilities is to kind of just look the other way. We really don't like admitting we have weak spots. But believing we're immune, that is literally one of the most dangerous things we can do. Denying our weaknesses doesn't help us at all. In fact, according to 1 John 1:8, thinking we're too strong to fall is just fooling ourselves. It's straight up self-deception. Now, contrast that with Galatians 6:1. That verse points out that even folks with strong spiritual qualifications can completely fall if they aren't on guard. Nobody gets a free pass here. We tend to think that once we hit a certain level of maturity or experience, we're magically immune to big mistakes. But history tells us the exact opposite. Past success doesn't make you bulletproof. The second we arrogantly think, oh, that'll never happen to me, that is exactly the moment we leave the front door wide open. Moving right along to Section 2, honest self-examination, confronting the areas where we lack strength. Okay, so if overconfidence is a trap, what's the way out? We've got to replace that illusion of invincibility with radical, uncompromising honesty. And the key here is in 2 Corinthians 13:5, which tells us we actually need to test ourselves and acknowledge the areas where we aren't strong. Think about it. You just can't fix what you refuse to acknowledge. But how do we actually do that? Well, it takes intentional effort. Maybe it means blocking out some quiet time to just reflect with zero distractions, or journaling about recent slip-ups to find a pattern. Or, if you're feeling really brave, asking a trusted friend or your spouse for brutal honesty about your blind spots. Yeah, it is super uncomfortable to ask someone where you're falling short, but admitting those personal susceptibilities, it isn't a sign of failure at all. It's actually the foundational step to building real, lasting resilience. Let's look at Section 3, the city gate metaphor. We're going to pull some ancient strategies for modern defense. To really visualize how to put this into practice, let's look at a pretty brilliant historical strategy. Picture a massive, sprawling city back in Bible times. To protect themselves, they built these incredibly thick, towering stone walls. Totally impenetrable, right? But every wall needs an entrance for trade and travel, a city gate. Massive wooden doors, iron hinges, locks. By definition, these gates were the absolute most vulnerable part of the entire city's defense. Any invading army knew better than to smash their heads against solid stone. They'd just bring their battering rams straight to the gates. Now, the people living there, they knew this too. They didn't pretend those wooden gates were strong as the stone. Because they openly acknowledged the weakness, those gates became the most heavily guarded spots in the city. They built watchtowers, posted their most elite soldiers right there. They focused their defensive energy exactly where they knew they were vulnerable. This leads us perfectly into Section 4, strengthening your defenses, and applying that gate strategy to yourself. See, just like those ancient cities, you have incredible strengths, but you also have psychological and emotional vulnerabilities. Those are your personal city gates. And just like those ancient watchmen, you need a proactive strategy to guard them. So here's the playbook. Step 1, identify your most susceptible areas. Call them out by name. Don't just be vague about it. Step 2, give those specific weak points special attention. Monitor them like a hawk. And step 3, actively strengthen your resistance. What does that actually look like? Well, if your city gate is a quick temper when you're stressed, posting a guard might mean a strict rule of taking a 10-minute walk before you respond to any irritating text. If your weakness is digital distraction, maybe your guard is putting your phone in another room at 8 p.m., no exceptions. If it's workplace gossip, maybe have a pre-planned polite response ready to change the subject the second things turn toxic. You literally have to build real, actionable guardrails to protect those vulnerable spots. So I want to leave you with this one thought to chew on today. Which gate do you need to guard right now? Take a little time to reflect on your own walls, figure out exactly where those gates are, and post your guards. For more information, please visit jw.org. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the bell icon to get the notification for new videos.